Hey there, this is my Mjolnir. I just finished it yesterday. It's got a Nano Biscotti version 4 and my Thor sound font that I made for the Thor lightsaber, which was a really long time ago now that I'm thinking about it. There's obviously some changes that I made just because I either didn't get to it or couldn't figure out how to do it yet, but for the most part it's pretty Marvel MCU Thor-ish, pretty close, but there are, again, some changes. So the head is wood, and the handle here is aluminum, and this right here is little pieces of MHS that have been strategically filed down, cut up, and glued together. The switch is this little 3-position toggle switch, and it actually goes back and forth. This one is latching and then back. It's the same one that I used for my Plo Koon, but instead I just use this one for the main power on instead of using a kill key.
Time for Odin's son.
And then the momentary action is the activation, so... So yeah, this is the Thor sound font. I don't know if I really gave a good impression of it, but I pulled the sounds directly out of the first Thor movie, so... Nano Biscotti. They don't have any of the extra sound effects, but that stuff right there is sufficient in my opinion. So, yeah. Otherwise it just makes thunder sounds and stuff like that. I put a fire, the Phoenix Pyre in there also, which I'll just show it to you real quick.
And this is where we say goodbye.
Sounds kind of fun. If you ever pictured Thor's hammer on fire. Again, I just like the swing sounds on this one in particular. Picture it on fire. It sounds like it. It's really weird to think about it anyway, but the clashes on this one are really good too. Very appropriate for a hammer. Let's go back to the first one.
Time for Odin's son.
Anyway, so yeah, some of the changes are this is actually like Celtic knot instead of that other squiggly wormy pattern that it had, which was really seemingly random. So I just found this pattern and I modified it so that it would fit for the top, and basically just put the pattern over it and then trace it. I'm getting into the how I made it stuff. Sorry, I'm just jumping ahead. Anyway. Alright, so this is how I made it. The head is just wood, like scrap that I had sitting around, left over from other projects. The grip was aluminum tube sitting around that I had just from other projects, and it was pretty easy to get the basic form down, and I just glued stuff together and held it to my belt sander for a while, and then used some PC7, which is kind of like JB Weld, to glue everything together. And then once I had the basic hammer form, then I started on the grip, which is just PC'd a kind of a bronze metallic, I forgot what it's called, but something brown. And in order to get the rings, they're not actually just rings, they got that little V-groove in it. I would use copper foil tape to get the shape down and then melt solder on top of it, which sticks to the copper, and they were raised, and it worked out really well for that. For the little doily end pieces, it's different. I just used some Celtic knot pattern, and since it's symmetrical, I could make it smaller or larger however I needed to, so I just glued that onto the edges and then used the Dremel with the little carving bit and then drew that in. Hit it with some primer and some Plasti Dip there was 3 coats of Plastidip, and then some silver paint. I think there's 3 or 4 coats of silver, and then during that process, I started making the little miniature Mjolnirs out of some scrap MHS, which I powder coated black first, and then when I etched it in, it looked right because the negative space was already black. So once I got that, I just cut out the pieces, and they were already the proper inner diameter so that they would fit onto the pommel. The pommel, which is actually just some scrap MHS MPS 4 that I just cut up and made look appropriate. Leather strip, again, is just glued in place, so I don't recommend anybody swing it around. Here it is with just the silver, which looked a little silly because it was so bright. Here it is weathered, and that's where I realized that the grip was a little too thin. So here it is with the 1 1/4 inch tube that I used. And then I did the copper foil tape and solder trick again on the bigger grip. The switch, like I said, is a 3-position toggle switch, which one direction is latching, the other direction is momentary, so that I could use it to both power and as a momentary switch for the whole thing. The electronics, like I said, it was a Nano Biscotti version 4 that I used in like my ball saber that I just pulled that out of, and it was the Thor sound font that I had to convert to .wave, which shows how old that sound font was. But really, that's all it is just a Nano Biscotti with the switch on it for power and for power on, and that's pretty much all there is. So thanks for watching. We'll see you later.